Welcome back to another episode of Clash of Cultures. Today we're going to be going back a little bit and doing another college football preview for the 2023 season. Today we're going to be doing Michigan State and the Spartans. But as always, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys like, comment down below what you guys think of our takes, what other videos you want to see. Please subscribe as well. We're just about at 650 subscribers, doing another big giveaway at 1,000. We also just dropped our Instagram page. So those of you guys who are new to the channel, make sure you guys check the link in the description. Go follow our Instagram page. We're going to be engaging with you guys there as well. And those of you guys who are returning viewers, thank you guys so much for the support and love. We're going to continue to push out this college football content. We're about a month and a half away from the season. So it's going to start ramping up, and we're going to start getting a little bit more in depth with some of these teams, some of these games. It's going to be fun throughout the season to kind of go back and forth with some of the fans from different teams. But nonetheless, before we get started on the Michigan State video, we're going to do trivia again. So today I got the trivia questions, okay. I should say.
Questions. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So it's a 5-part question, kind of.
Oh, shit.
Well, just 5 different questions of the same topic.
Okay.
So today we're going to see how many of these 5 teams, if you know the stadium name of those teams.
Okay. All right.
So we're going to start off with the Auburn Tigers. Do you know their stadium name?
Auburn.
I tried to choose teams that like most people would know, because like obviously if I chose like I don't know like Boise State or something, you may not know.
I don't know Auburn.
You don't know Auburn's? Try to think. It starts with a J.
Jordan Hare?
Yeah, Jordan Hare.
Okay.
All right. So you knew that one. All right. Number 2, Tennessee.
Neyland Stadium.
Okay. Number 3, Florida State.
I know the field is named after Bobby Bowden. Okay. So it's Bobby Bowden Field, but Doak Campbell.
Okay, 3 of 3. Number 4, Michigan State.
Oh, Michigan State. I don't know off the top of my head.
Spartan Stadium.
Oh,
so that's a kind of easy one.
So corny. Yeah.
Number 5 is the hardest one of the bunch.
Okay.
Most people aren't gonna know that. If you say in the comments that you know it, if you're not a fan of this team, you're lying. We should know it though, because we went to the stadium less than a year ago. Washington State. It was in big bold letters as soon as you walked in. I knew it off the top of my head.
Oh yeah, it is funny. Yeah, we did go. I'm sure I knew at the time.
It has nothing to do with Washington State. It starts with the letter M.
No idea. What is it?
Martin Stadium.
Martin? What is?
Yeah, like Martin Luther King, like Martin.
Okay. Yeah. No,
it's such an odd one, but I didn't know if you would remember it. I remember it since we had pictures and stuff on my phone from it. But nonetheless, that was the trivia. Let us know in the comment section how much you guys knew.
If you say you knew that Washington State one, you a lie.
All right, nonetheless, let's get into talking about Michigan State. Dad, what do you think about Michigan State and their projection for this year?
Yeah, so you see the projection there, 7-9. Basically, I'm sorry, 7-5. They have a tough sled this year, especially when you look at all that they lost. I think they look good on defense. I think they're going to have a strong returning defense, but they've lost a lot on offense. We talked about Peyton Thorne already transferring out. We already talked about Keon Coleman transferring out. So they're losing their starting receiver, their number one their starting wide receiver, their starting quarterback. But yeah, beyond that, Jaden Reed went to the NFL. Jermaine Bernard, as you see, is transferring out. So he's going to Washington. They lost a lot, and obviously the quarterback position they are bringing back their 2 returning backups, Noah Kim and Catton Hauser, I think is how you say his name.
Yeah.
So we'll see which one wins. Noah Kim was the primary backup last year.
Yeah, they said he's going to win the job.
So it looks like but I don't know what he is. I like Jalen Berger, 800-yard rusher last year. Really, he's the star of this offense. They are bringing back Trey Mosley. He was the 3rd wide receiver last year. So again, it's tough sledding, and I don't think we're going to have a true answer until we see what Noah Kim is, or whoever starts at quarterback. what they are. Because if they're good, then Michigan State has a chance because I think their defense will keep them in some games. But if they can't put up similar to or better numbers than Peyton Thorne put up last year, then I think they're going to do similar to or worse than they did last year.
Yeah, so I mean, last year they finished 5-7. Let me go back to the last slide just so you guys can see.
Yeah.
They were 5-7 last year. Obviously lost to Washington, lost to Minnesota, Maryland, Ohio State, Michigan, Indiana in double overtime, and then Penn State. So I mean, when we're looking at a team like Michigan State, I think this is more of a rebuilding year for them.
Yes.
And Michigan State fans, you might disagree with that, but I mean, I truly think that's the case. They had a really good recruiting class in 2023, borderline top 25 recruiting class, so that's really good. 5 out of 14 among other Big Ten teams, 8 4-stars, 8 3-stars. So I think, I mean, the future is bright for Michigan State. I just think that I'm not gonna say dug themselves in a hole because I mean the coaching staff and the players that are there didn't do it. But when you lose Peyton Thorne, when you lose Keon Coleman, your number one offensive player, and your other 2 receivers as well, I just think it's gonna be too much to kind of overcome. And then you had the drama last year with the whole stuff that happened in the tunnel with Michigan and all that stuff that happened. So, I mean, a lot of that had to do with kind of the demise of the team with all the suspensions and stuff. So I'm going to cut them a little break there. But I don't know how good this team can be when you're in a division with Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan. I think they're going to benefit a lot from when the conference opens up and it's not, it's going to be divisionless next year, right?
Next year. Yeah.
So next year, I think it'll help a lot. Obviously, you don't have to worry about kind of getting over the hump of not 1, not 2, but 3 kind of contenders every year. You may not have to play those 3 guys when the conference opens up. You may be able to play, the Iowas, the Nebraskas, the Illinois, those teams of the Big Ten rather than the 3 powerhouses. So, I mean, we'll just have to see. I'm not saying that this team is going to go 2-10, but I don't think this is a team that's going to be competing for the Big Ten championship this year. And fans, you shouldn't believe that either. I know it's kind of hard to kind of come to the realization of that. But I mean, I think this is just one of those years where it's kind of an unfortunate circumstance with, you're losing so much on offense. And then you have an inexperienced quarterback in Noah Kim. Where did he transfer from? Was it Virginia?
Well, Noah Kim was on the team last year. I don't know where he was the year before that.
Let me see.
But he was the backup last year.
Oh, he may have not have transferred then. I could be wrong. But yeah, so I just think we'll have to see what he can do. Like you said, the defense is bringing back a lot, but the defense wasn't that great last year or in 2021. They were ranked higher than they were in the hundreds for total defense the last 2 seasons. Again, last year you had a lot going on with the suspensions and stuff like that. So again, I cut them some slack for that. But I don't know how good this team can be with how kind of, I'm not going to say poor the offense looks like it's going to be, but how inexperienced the offense looks like it's going to be. We could be completely wrong. My dad and I could be completely wrong. This team could be 8-4, 7-5, but we'll just have to see. But nonetheless, we'll get into like kind of the predictions for the schedule. I'll go first. Ironically, we have the same floor, same ceiling, same final prediction. That doesn't happen often, but I will say my dad and I did choose 2 different losses. Again, my dad does not ever see my predictions, and I saw his prediction 3 minutes before we went live. So we're not like, deciphering back and forth who we think. We're doing it on our own, and we come together and kind of make the video. But I have them losing to Iowa and Nebraska, and you obviously have them losing to Maryland and Minnesota. So those are the 2 different games that we had them losing to, but ultimately still going 500. Again, when you talk about 6-6 or being 500, it's kind of a negative connotation, especially to the, powerhouses. Obviously, if Ohio State or Clemson went 500, fans would, they would jump off a bridge. So obviously a team like Michigan State, they're not going to like the fact that we're predicting a 6-6 season. But again, with everything that you guys lost, everything that they lost, I mean, again, I think it's a rebuilding year. I think it's only up from here, and it's still better than what the season was last year. They're 5-7 last year. So I do think they're going to be a little bit, slight improvements. My floor and the ceiling's a 5-game discrepancy. But I ultimately chose 6-6. Why did you kind of come up with your prediction?
Yeah, so I think Michigan State always plays tough football. They always, again, if you remember, and we talk about 6-6 looking good, this is a team 2 years ago that was vying for a playoff spot. This is a team, I think, if I remember correctly, that was one of the teams that has had a playoff spot. Yes. And got blasted by Alabama. So this is a team that has aspirations and sees themselves as a team that should be a playoff contender. But yeah, things have just turned on their head. Mel Tucker, I know, is doing all that he can, but a roster turnover this big, and like I said, the transfer portal is really killing them this year. When you lose that much in the transfer portal, and you play in the better of the two Big Ten divisions. So yeah, they have all the tough teams in the Big Ten next year. Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, who I think are 1, 2, and 3 in the Big Ten. They had a home and home with Washington, who I think is going to be a top 10 team. Maryland's up on the rise. The Iowa-Nebraska game, really, I was splitting hairs between those. And to be honest, I picked those games because I picked those teams to lose those games in those videos. But I was splitting hairs on those games. So yeah, I think they have a tough road. I think you'll see some glimpses. I think the future is bright. You mentioned the 26th ranked recruiting class, so they're bringing in some players. So a year or two from now, they have some young players on the team. So a year or two from now, I think you'll see the life return to Michigan State. But I think this year is going to be a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, a top 30 class in college football is not bad. When you're a top 5 class in your conference, we talked about how many SEC teams are in the top 25. Probably 10 or so recruiting teams, recruiting classes coming from the SEC are in the top 25. So, I mean, having a top 26 classes is not bad at all. And I think with Nick or Noah Kim he's a sophomore, so he'll be back at least for next year. I don't know what their quarterback room is looking like. But I mean, even if he's an above average quarterback or an average quarterback, I think
the kid Hauser that he was battling, he's a redshirt freshman.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, you bring in what 8 4-stars. I mean, the future, like I said, it's going to be rough this season, I think, but I think the future is bright.
Definitely.